All right, good afternoon, everybody. It is Wednesday, March 4th at 3:03 p.m. Call to order this meeting of the 911 Services Enterprise. Thank you all for being here. First up on our agenda is the approval of the minutes of February 4th. So everybody had a chance to review the draft minutes and take a look if there are any corrections or comments regarding the February 4th meeting minutes.
I did take a look. It's been a few days, but I did take a look. I did not have any changes.
All right. If there, Amy, were you just talking? You are unmuted, but we have lost your audio.
For some reason, that happens with my
There
headset.
you go.
I don't know why I have to switch back and forth for some reason, but I would make the motion to approve the minutes from the February 4th meeting.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Lynn. Anybody opposed? All right, then we will accept the draft minutes from February 4th. Thank you. Next up, public comments. Public comments are limited to up to 15 minutes total. Each member of the public may speak for up to 3 minutes on any topic relevant to the purposes of the enterprise. If any member of the public would like to speak, please indicate so now by raising your hand in Zoom to be called upon. After we address any raised hands in Zoom, we will then call for any additional comments from members of the public who have dialed in or are otherwise unable to raise your hands on Zoom. Seeing no hands, was there anybody unable to raise their hands who would like to unmute and state their name to be addressed? All right, hearing none, public comments are closed. Next up, document retention policy. Let me share my screen so we can look at the latest draft. Has everybody had a chance to review, and does anybody have any additional thoughts or comments? So if we start with the things we commented on last time, we were looking at adding a line for financial records, grant applications, and awards. Kirsten, I believe you were going to be looking into what type of retention period would be required versus recommended, etc.
Yes. Um, Sorry, let me pull my notes up for that. I apologize. I did look into this and now I cannot find my notes. Okay. Um, I apologize. Let me go back to the source
Okay, we'll
and
move down while you're looking for that. In the electronic maintenance, there was a discussion about having a department share drive. So I know that Sage was working on that. Did everybody get access to that? Seemed to be working for me as far as a view only, no edits, no comments, but everything was there to be affirmed that we have it. Everybody have a chance to look at that? Any concerns or comments toward that section now?
When I first logged in, it popped up an alert that said I could download all of the agendas. Is that something we want, or is that not really a functional button? Is that something we should be allowed to do? Just
I don't think
curious.
there's any issue with downloading it. It's,
Okay.
I mean, it's open records, public documents, so it's
Okay.
no reason that you shouldn't be able to.
Okay. Perfect. I access it just fine.
All right, we'll accept that. Do we want to, do we want to somehow reference that these are view only, or is that kind of overkill for this purpose? To put that into the document that it is a view only for board members.
I personally don't think it would hurt to have it in there. Just so we're specific.
I mean, I think it just bolsters the fact that we're trying to be, abide by.
Mhm.
Okay. Matt, you unmuted. Did you have a thought?
I was gonna say something very similar to what you just added in text, just for access by board members. It's 601, half a dozen the other.
Okay. All right, custodian of record. Let's see, so we had the change to shall ensure the preservation versus shall preserve. So again, going back to the fact that it is on this shared document controlled by the department, by Dora. So it's upon the custodian to ensure that it is there rather than being the one doing it. Questions or thoughts there, or is that good to accept?
I'm good.
Similarly, ensuring access. And then there was the successor line here. In the event there is no successor or vice chair, responsibility will be upon the remaining board members until such successor is named. So just fleshing out really that chain of who is responsible and ensuring essentially everybody is responsible at the end of the day.
I have
All
a
good
quick
there?
question.
Yes, ma'am.
The custodian is the custodian always the chair? It is correct. Okay. Is the
Yes.
chair of the board. So in the paragraph, so it would make sense that the next custodian would be, should there be resignation or expiration, would automatically go to the vice chair. Does that sound? So my concern is, so it says prior to the custodian no longer serving as board chair, either due to resignation, the custodian shall ensure access to all board documents to the successor custodian. If there is no successor custodian at that time, then the current vice chair would be that custodian. Aren't those kind of the same thing, the custodian and the vice chair?
So the reason that I like that is, let's say, for instance, I decide to resign, effective April. So I'm, present for the April meeting, but it's going to be my last one. And, the rest of the board votes that Matt wants to stay as vice chair and you are going to become the next chair. Then you are my successor to the custodianship, and it doesn't have to go through Matt to then go to you.
Okay,
That's
that
how
makes
I
sense.
see it.
That makes sense. Thank you.
All right, good with that?
Yes, thanks.
All right, Kirsten, back to you.
Yes. So it looks like what's recommended is 3 years. And if it is a refused grant application or if it's withdrawn, then 2 years for those records.
Okay,
So you could do 3 years across the board if you wanted.
and would that be just fleshing it through? Would that be from time of submission, from time of grant decision? When does that clock start?
It says so technically it's after the grant ends.
Okay,
So I guess for a withdrawn grant, that would be as soon as it's withdrawn.
And for all other documents, the date of the document.
Yes.
from the grant end?
Mhm.
Is that so? Like, and I want to make sure I'm understanding it. So let's say whatever it was, we opened the grant submissions today. Decision was made June 1st, and it was, to be done within the year. Does that mean June of 2027 plus 3 years?
Yes, that's how I would rate it.
When the okay. The
It's a good point, Michael, about the board needing to be mindful to set ending dates. Although I do have a question, Kirsten.
Hmm.
If, say, the board were to require grantees to provide ongoing status reports, you got to do grant reporting sometimes when you win a grant, if we were to require that.
Sure.
Does it create a wrinkle that matters for this?
Trying to
Probably.
see. So there's a section on Secretary of State's website for grant case files, um, which is 3 years after. Let me see here. Policy files. It looks like pretty much across the board, all of these documents are 3 years except for the unsuccessful application file. So I would just assume 3 years on everything. Um, Wait, hold on, sorry. Periodic budget reports, monthly or routine reports on the status of appropriation accounts and apportionment. That's not quite what you were asking.
I would think that there would still be an end at some point, and it'd be anything that has been submitted through there 3 years from that point.
Yeah. And what you were discussing about stats reports might fall into project reports under the grant case files, which is again to be retained for 3 years after the grant has ended.
Should we add
Reporting.
and project reports? Applications, forms. Something like that.
And this applies to all financial records, not just grants, right? So we should probably change the retention period statement to be something like 3 years, semicolon, including after the end of the grant period.
Should that be a separate row, kind of general financial records, versus grant records.
Well, I was just gonna say, put it in the cell to the right of your cursor
Hmm.
as the top line, and then, or all in one sentence in some fashion.
Something like that.
Yeah, as long as it makes clear for our successors that we're talking about all financial records, not just grants, right? So whatever Lynn might be working on for financial reports for the board.
Mm.
That's why I'm wondering if it might be better to split it out, even though it's the same retention. Does it make more sense to treat them as separate buckets, essentially?
I'm okay either way.
Executive privilege. Look okay? All right, additional thoughts?
Works for me.
Okay. Get this, Kirsten, I'll send this final copy to you. If you can give it a final review, forward it to the rest of the board members, and we'll come back and vote on it at our
Okay.
April meeting.
Sounds good.
Excellent. All right, funding discussion. And I think we can combine, unless I'm thinking about things the wrong way, the funding discussion with the grant application form, since I think the two are related. Sage and Daryl, you were going to work on that form. Did you have a chance to do that?
So we haven't worked on the form quite yet. I was
Okay.
just kind of curious how exactly we would want the form to be laid out, and what kind of things we need to put for the fields to be answered. Additionally, I was wondering what they need to send via email.
Right. And one of the things we had talked about was there was a desire to, my understanding is there was a desire to include attachments in the form. Unfortunately, that Google Forms does not support that. It only supports that if you are getting form responses from people within the same domain. So like this will be under the state's Google domain. So state employees could submit a form with an attachment, but nobody from the outside can. So the best we could probably do is, have the form to gather the information that you want to gather, and then have instructions on the form to say attachments should be sent to this email address. We can use the generic email address that we created for the enterprise. Sage can collect all of those and then store them in a Google folder, and keep a spreadsheet to track which documents go with which form responses. But other than that, we just need to know what kind of information you want to collect, and we can do that.
Let me share. So I had put together this information to kind of try and get things started, as far as what that form would look like. Preamble header with some links to the CRS, fiscal policy, and the 911 website. We'll have to make some edits because I thought uploads would work, but that will have to change. But first name, last name, organization, email, contact information, your phone number, project type, checkbox, what is it based on our budget and funding, previous funding decisions? Is this GIS support? Is this language accessibility? Or is this a local authority grant? Or are you seeking something else? So some information there. And then based on the outlines of our fiscal policy, some long answer options for that executive summary, organizational information, problem statements, project description, evaluation plan, budget and justification, that certification that you're using it not to supplant existing. We'll have to change that file upload. And then, so really this second section here around, instead of please upload X, Y, and Z, it would be a matter of here's what you'll have to put together an email. From a process standpoint, probably Sage, I guess, if you're going to be the one kind of reading, monitoring and collecting this, would you rather this information, this instruction go with that form and you'll just be getting emails at the same time you're getting the form submissions? Or would you rather they just complete the form and then you reach out to start that so you can keep it together? Hey, this is Sage for the DOR, for DORA, working with the 911 Enterprise. Thank you for your submission. Please respond with X, Y, and Z files so that they can be submitted along with. Which direction would make it easier for you?
I think both theoretically could work, but I am leaning toward the first, just so the
Okay.
content is all together. And as Daryl said, I could make a spreadsheet and make sure it's all collected, and so there's no confusion there. Just because I'm afraid if we do it kind of like in a two-part system, people might not respond, or it could get a little messy.
Gotcha.
This is Daryl. I would agree with that. And I think what you've laid out here would be very easy to turn into a form. So we can take this and put together a draft for the next meeting if you'd like. One question I have is under project type. You've got the choice checkbox. I know what GIS support and language accessibility mean, but what would local authority grant be?
So that was kind of our catch-all for other things. So I'm not so sure we need both local authority grant and other, since that frankly is the other option.
Okay, we could just do GIS support, language accessibility, and other. But if you think of other categories you'd like us to include, we can always add those later.
Okay.
But yeah, we can definitely work with this. Thank you for putting that together.
Any other thoughts from the board members?
This might be overthinking it, but when we say local authority grant, I'm thinking about counties where the PSAP essentially acts on behalf of their governing body authority.
So that's what we named it in our budget.
Okay, sure.
So that's why I kept that wording. We
Yeah.
could go the other way and just have other from the start on the form. But I was trying to keep that language consistent.
Yeah, no, I forgot about that. I think it's okay. We can
Ringing endorsement.
we can assume that if a qualified PSAP's applying, that they're either on behalf of their authority or, in some fashion, it's okay.
And that may be a question for you to consider is should there be, I see you've got the instructions at the top and we can certainly include all of that. Should there be instructions about who can apply?
I think so. I mean, that's what got me thinking about this issue was, what if we have a 911 authority that provides assistance or services for multiple PSAPs, but then we have one or more of those PSAPs also applying.
Well, I'm even thinking of you might end up with vendors trying to apply or something like that for funding for
Oh.
some project for a PSAP.
Yeah.
That is spelled out in the fiscal policy. And, based on the CRS and based on our bylaws. And so that's partly why I included that, did you check the fiscal policy?
Gotcha.
I'm not opposed to the idea of paraphrasing what you just pointed out, Michael, at the top of a form, for example, to set expectations right up front.
Basically adding.
Yeah, and it could be just as simple as one sentence or, whatever. Or just as simple as that, yeah. Sage, you could probably massage that into a form, even if it's not all of that text.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Of course.
All right. Any more grant application form discussion before we wrap back to the funding? All right. Daryl, before you go unvideoed, I hear there is some news to discuss about our contracting abilities.
Yes, so just to give you an update on the status of the contract with the Resource Center, the way DORA's financial systems work, not just DORA, but the entire state, they cannot create the contract until there's money in a fund to fund the contract. You guys should be getting your first payment. Not should be. You will be getting your first payment very soon. Those are the January enterprise fee collections that were then remitted to our company, our vendor that collects the surcharges for us in February, and then they remit it all to us at the end of February, so early March. We usually get it around the 10th of the month, so it should be very soon that we should see those, and I'm expecting that you'll be receiving around $200,000. The first month might be a little low because it's always hard to get all of the companies to comply immediately when a new charge goes into place. But it should be close to that. The other part of it, however, is that the DORA controller, that's the person who's in charge of all of the financial decisions for DORA, would prefer, instead of giving a lump sum to the Resource Center, but to have it as a reimbursement type grant, to where the Resource Center would submit a request for reimbursement every month for their expenses. That could be all of the executive directors' salary plus travel expenses plus any other type of expenses that they had that month, and up to the amount that you guys have already approved, the $200,000. So I wanted to run that past you, see what you thought of that. I didn't think that would be a problem, but he would simply prefer that due to having greater accountability as to where that money's going and what it's being used for, since it is public money.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, Daryl, well, two things. So when you say a request for reimbursement, would that be us just saying to the controller, we want you to issue a check for this much money to this particular entity, like the grant recipient or the resource center or wherever. It's not money that's going to come through us and have to sit with us, right, as the board in some account that then gets sent to whoever.
Well, it would stay in the enterprise board cash fund until it's expended.
The state fund.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
Essentially, it'd be the resource center invoicing
correct.
for the previous months.
And this process is already in use for the resource center because they do get a little bit of money every month from the Behavioral Health Administration for helping with 911/988 coordination. It only amounts to a few $100s a month, but it's a very similar process where the resource center submits a monthly reimbursement form to BHA, and then they cut the check.
Certainly, we would need to take the resource center into account for that conversation. Matt, go ahead.
That's a pretty common model, even between local governments. We use that with a number of partner governments around here as well, and also invoices that, for example, come to METSA, say monthly or quarterly. We basically don't move money with other governments without having a contract in place, an intergovernmental agreement. Good fences make good neighbors and protect the public. And I would add, though, that everything has to show proof of encumbrance, right? With the invoice, for example. But we do have ways of, say, doing monthly or quarterly plus an annual lump sum for something that one of our partners has budgeted for, but they only get that lump sum until they show us that they spent the money. So a mix. So I'm completely fine with this based on just thinking through that local government process that we're familiar with here.
Okay. And so that I can go back to the resource center as we kind of negotiate and talk about that scope from the DORA and the controller side. What does that look like as far as, for instance, effective date? Obviously we want to have money in the enterprise fee fund before we can complete this contract. What will the effective date look like? And therefore, when might the resource center be able to start requesting that reimbursement basis?
So as soon as the money is in the account that they can write the contract against, obviously you guys haven't even seen the contract, and neither is the resource center. So there's probably going to be some back and forth looking at the contract and dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Once the contract has been executed, however, I think you could start right away. If you do the reimbursements on a monthly basis, it might be like a partial month for the first month that they're being reimbursed for, and then go on a monthly basis after that. But I don't see any reason to put it off since you'd already decided that you want to do this as soon as possible.
Amy?
So just to clarify, we have to have the full contracted amount?
You have to have the full amount that the contract is going to be written for. Now, right now, what you guys had approved, if I recall, was $200,000 plus an extra $50,000 if they needed it and requested it. We might need to write those as two separate contracts so we can get started sooner, because I am expecting you guys to get $200,000 this month, but probably not $250,000.
Okay, thank you.
Now, if I'm pleasantly surprised and it's $250,000, then we could probably do the full contract under one number.
And we can't start on one single word of it until the money's there.
Well, no, it's not that. It's that they're not. I asked if we could circulate a draft copy before the money is in there, and they told me that that's not their process. I don't know why that's not the process, but I'm at a loss to explain the state fiscal process to you. I'm sorry.
I'm just thinking timing wise, it's basically another 35 days until we have 3 to 400,000.
Yeah.
As opposed to doing 2 separate contracts.
Right. If we don't have the full 250,000 that you guys wanted to put towards that contract, then we can split it up. But as of right now, there's no money in there, so that they can't write a contract apparently until there's at least funding in there for a first installment.
How do we know when the money gets there?
We know because Roca Loeb will transfer it and they notify us. Roca Loeb is the company that does the
Okay.
collection. Used to be Solix that you're aware of, that you're familiar with.
If it's on the same schedule as the state 911 surcharge distributions, so
Yes.
between the 8th, 9th, or 10th every month
Yeah.
by EFT.
Yeah, it's being collected with the state 911 surcharge as one line item on the customer bill. So it will be transferred as one sum as well. And then Roca Loeb breaks it up for us so we know how much of that is enterprise money and how much of it is state 911 surcharge money. And then the enterprise money will be transferred to a cash fund that was created just for this enterprise. And most of you know Jolene Sena, who is our surcharge administrator. She will be tracking your balances and will be able to provide balance anytime you guys ask for it. In fact, we should be able to have that ready for you at the beginning of every board meeting.
Excellent.
That was going to be my next question.
There you go.
Thank
So unless there are any objections, I can tell the state controller that you're not opposed to that idea. Obviously, you guys still need to see the letter of the contract, and share that with the resource center and discuss the details. But I'll tell them that you are not opposed to that in principle.
Okay, thank you. All right, further discussion around that funding and contract. All right. Any further board discussion in general? Anything for the good of the order?
I just have one question. Timing of, I know we have to give a report to the legislature, right? So backing up from that, timeframe, should we, and when would be the best time? Would it be this next April's meeting to have an agenda item that kind of talks to the structure of that and what we might want to provide?
We can do that. It's the first one's going to be due on or before June 30th.
So that's
April,
probably, yeah, we
May,
should probably
so-
start thinking about it. Yeah.
Okay. Sage or Daryl, do you have examples you would be able to send to Lynn and we can discuss at the April meeting?
I don't know that we have any examples because this type of organization is new, but we can certainly help put together maybe a template or format that could be helpful.
That would be great. And I do know we had to do one for the 988 board, and obviously a kind of a different topic, but it may give some insight and framework as to what
That's a
kinds of
good
things are
thought.
provided. Yeah.
I could
Yes,
reach out to
sir.
the 988 Enterprise and ask them for a copy of theirs.
Okay. And potentially even, and I'm guessing they still have it, but who knows what their documentation retention policy is too. The initial one they did. Kind of an initial and a current.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
right, any further discussion from board members?
I just want to say that I reject your fake resignation for April.
Purely hypothetical.
Second.
Here, here. Third.
We
And a thank you to everyone for your work on these tasks.
Yes, absolutely. Agree.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Kirsten and Daryl for your input today. Sage for keeping us online. And unless there is anything else, our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, April 1st. It'll be
Ooh.
Are you sure?
the day of my resignation at 3 p.m. Any concerns with that?
Well,
Besides
With the
obvious.
first. All right. Then if not, then I will accept somebody's motion to adjourn.
Matt so moves.
Amy
Second.
seconds.
Thank you, Matt and Amy. Everybody have a great afternoon, and we'll see everybody next month.
Take care, everyone.
That's good. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.